What is he saying? It didn't come from you. You didn't evoke it. You didn't wrangle it out of me. It wasn't because you implored. It wasn't because of you asked. It wasn't because you deserved. I loved you because I loved you. It all comes out of me. It's my doing, my will, my choice, my good pleasure. That is why I loved you. John Trapp writes, "Lo, he loved you because he loved you." This may see, and he uses a Latin phrase here which means same through the same, but it excellently shows the ground of God's love to be wholly in himself. John Gill writes, "With an unmerited love he loved them because he loved them, that is, because he would love them. His love was not owing to any goodness in them or done by them or any love in them to him, but to his own good will and good pleasure." I've heard people say, God saved you to serve. Well, there's a sense of truth in that, but that's not really a good statement. I've also heard people say, God saved you. God didn't save you to serve. God saved you so that you would love him. Well, there's a little bit of truth in that, but I don't think it's a very good statement. Maybe this would be a better statement. God saved you so that he might demonstrate his love toward you. The atoning work of Christ put away the sins that separated you from God so that God might love you, pour out his love on you, demonstrate how great he is by the manner in which he loves you. Now that's a wonderful thing. God has taken it upon himself to demonstrate his greatness by the character and quality of love that he pours out on Paul Washer. Now let's think about this statement for a moment. This is wonderful, guys. And I can see that you're not understanding what I'm saying because you're not just doing cartwheels right now. Isn't that amazing? That God has determined to show how great he is through the quality, the character, even the quantity of love that he pours out on you throughout all eternity. Showing everyone how great he is by how wonderful he is to you. We have to be very, very careful here. It's a two-edged sword. One is flagrant, selfish, pathetic. I don't know what else. There's just no words. Loathsome, disgusting prosperity teaching that goes on today. It's just disgusting. Totally off-center. Yet at the same time, we have to avoid the pietistic, kind of Catholic, pietistic, monastic view that I am supposed to literally walk around unblessed. Or that the blessing always has to take certain forms. We have to learn to walk between those two things. Because what you are is a demonstration of how good God is. Now, if I give my son everything he wants as a little immature boy, does that show how good I am? No. It shows just the opposite. But when I wisely give to my son and wisely withhold from my son and do all things for the benefit of my son's character, for the benefit of him truly developing a relationship with God, if I do all things for his eternal benefit, then people look at me and say, this is a good man. Now, I have two different sons, completely different. And I have to treat them differently because they are different. I may give to one and withhold from the other. I may withhold from that one that I gave and give to the one from which I withheld. I am going to treat them differently because in wisdom, hopefully as a father, I know exactly what these boys need in order to become exactly what they need to become. In the same way, God knows exactly what you need in order for you to become the person you need to become in Christ. And He will rock your boat, rock your world. Remember several years ago, a Catholic priest wrote a series of books called Joshua, which in themselves were quite unbiblical in the sense that he had Christ coming back to earth and visiting towns or just different people and things like that. There was an intriguing thing that he did in one of the books. It may have been the first one, I don't know. But he was a carpenter and a craftsman and a carver of wood, an artisan. And these two pastors came to him. One was a pastor who was, I don't want to say far too humble, because you cannot be too humble, but just literally had the attitude that he was nothing, should have nothing, purposely lived in a way that was destitute. Then this other pastor came to him, and this pastor wanted something carved out of wood for his little church. He was very, very humble. He would wash the feet of the saints, everything. He wanted a thing carved for the front of the foyer in his church. Well, then this other pastor came, who was a mighty, bold man, who was willing to drink down all the blessings that God sent his way. And he wanted something in the foyer of his church, which was I think, a large, great picture of a statue of Peter throwing a net boldly and bravely. And so Joshua goes back into his shop and starts to work. And after he finishes, he brings out both statues. And neither man was pleased. As a matter of fact, they wanted to switch statues. Because the humble man wanted the statue that had the meek and lowly Jesus. It's a small statue of the meek and lowly Jesus washing the feet of the disciples. And the proud, big-shot pastor wanted the statue of this mighty, magnificent Peter throwing the net into the sea. But Jesus swapped the statues. But I want you to look at something. Not only did this mighty man who thought much of himself and was willing to drink in all the blessings God gave him, not only did he need the small statue of Jesus humbly washing the disciples' feet, this other timid man needed to see something too. He needed to see just the opposite. He needed to see something of a mighty Peter in himself throwing a net into the sea. God may take a man who desires wealth and riches and humble him and take that away from him. He may take a man who desires to live in a completely monastic lifestyle and take him and force him out of it so that he can't boast in it. God will do everything and anything necessary, and He knows exactly what you need to be made like Christ.
Paul, would you also say that the one man needed to see that the statue that he wanted was given to someone else?
Yes. And it is so easy, guys. Conrad Merle, I can't quote him directly, but I've heard him say this in a sermon on truth, and it's so wonderful, that walking in the truth is like walking on the edge of a razor blade. Walking in falsehood is very easy. You can go 1,000 miles that way and be in falsehood, and 1,000 miles that way and be in falsehood. No problem. It's a very wide path. But to